Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. In this video I want to share with you my experience with the foundation course. If you see me for the first time, I'm Dara and I'm from Russia, but I live and study in London for already a year, and this summer I graduated from Chemistry and Biology International Foundation Program at King's College London. I want to start with a little important thing that is just my experience with this one specific program at this one specific university, and things are really changing during this years, so you can see pretty different things in your universities. Everything could be really different even on foundation at King's next year, but I still hope that this video will give you at least some understanding what is foundation program. So let's start with this specific question: what is international foundation? It is a typically one-year program that allows international students to go to university without IBs or A-levels. You can find this program not only in the UK universities but also in different places in Europe. The main idea is to help students to achieve a higher level of English language, especially academic English, get to know the educational system of the country where they want to study, and to have pretty the same level of knowledge with the students who graduated from ABs or A-levels, because in different countries school programs are really different. For example, in my country we can study different things that are not usually studied at schools in the UK, and oppositely there are different things that are studied in the UK schools but are not studied in my country, for example. I hope you get what I mean. Why I decided to go to the foundation course and why I've chosen it over IBs or A-levels. It's pretty simple. UK universities doesn't accept my Russian school diploma, so to go to university I have to take a foundation course or IBs or A-levels. There was also an option of applying to university after 1 year at Russian university, but as far as I know the acceptance rate of this way is pretty low, so it wasn't a choice for me. IB and A-levels are a 2 years program, while foundation is the only 1 year program, so that is the answer why I've chosen foundation. I would have chosen IB or A-level as my high school program, like instead of 2 years at Russian high school, but not as, I don't know, like extra level of education. And actually, I don't really think that IBs or A-levels would have given me more opportunities, because only universities that are like close for me after foundation were Cambridge and Oxford, and I'm actually pretty fine with losing this opportunity. And you can even go to Imperial after several foundation programs. I believe UCL and one more university, but it's not King's. If you're interested, just check on the Imperial's website. What courses did I have during this year? I had 4 courses, classes, subjects, whatever. Academic Expression and Critical Thinking, or ACT, Science and Society, Chemistry and Biology. ACT is kind of English language course where we studied how to write essays, how to express yourself academically, how to read scientific and academic papers and work with them, and actually so on. ACT was for those who already had a pretty high level of general English and just needed some support with academic expression, but there were also 2 other subjects. I can't really say their names and the difference between them, but it was for those who had a lower English language and needed support both with academic and general English. I think the difference is just how much of this extra support you are given. And by the way, they put you in one of these groups accordingly to your IELTS results or any other English language qualification exam that you uploaded during your application. And each group had people from different pathways, like all business, art, science, whatever. Actually, this was really the most helpful course, for me at least, because like we all need to write essays, and I literally had no ideas how to do this before the foundation. We had enough practice with a really good feedback, which was like extremely important in my opinion. The second course I had is Science and Society. It was just like reflections and discussions on like morality, philosophy, history, whatever, and everything was like related to science. We had a lot of freaky topics like, should scientists be responsible for their inventions? Is it moral to make experiments on animals and people and use the results of like cruel ones like Nazi experiments? How kinda natural are LGBT families, and really many other topics. It was more about understanding your point of view on these topics and get to know others' people's opinion rather than actually learning something. It was interesting as we had people from different cultural background in our groups, and everyone had really different opinions, but I still don't really understand why we need this subject. But like, it's just my personal opinion. And the last two subjects were chemistry and biology, as I studied on chemistry and biology pathway. These two subjects were related to your pathway. So for example, if you study on physics and math pathway, you will have physics and math. We studied just like basic concepts of these subjects, and there is actually not much to say about it, to be honest. I didn't really enjoy it because I wasn't really satisfied with the teachers, but it's just like my personal opinion. They weren't really bad. I just didn't really like their methods of teaching, structure of their classes, and like so on. It wasn't just like for me. Okay, then application to bachelor's courses. After foundation at King's, you have to apply again to get to a bachelor's course. I think there are some foundation courses that are already integrated to your like bachelor's course, but it's definitely not at King's. So King's really supported us with this whole application process. We had a pre-recorded course where they gave us step-by-step instructions how to understand which university to choose, which program to choose, how to apply, how to write a personal statement. Our personal tutors checked our personal statements and gave us feedback, like what to improve, how to make your personal statement more like valuable, and what to put in this personal statement. I was really satisfied with the support King's provided us with these steps, but I told about it a little bit more specifically in my previous video about Yuka's decisions reactions. Then, how do the educational process look like? This was the most interesting topic for me, to be honest, because I had no ideas what to expect. First of all, this can be a subject of change because I studied during pandemic. We had 6 hours of live classes during the week, mostly as seminars. We were supposed to have labs during chemistry and biology courses, but we had none of them, thanks COVID. These live classes were face-to-face in October, when it was allowed by government, and the rest of the year we've been studying fully online. All lectures, tasks, tests, etc. were pre-recorded, pre-made and uploaded to the King's platform, Kids. So this became like a part of our independent study. And as far as I know, many unis in the UK, including King's, decided to keep this system for the next years. So you are really likely to have something the same. I personally really enjoyed online lectures because it was so much easier for me rather than going to like real lectures. But online seminars are just not a thing. I will return to the question about the application to undergrad. So during the third term, our teachers were giving us our like predicted grades, which we use during the application. So your predicted grades affect if you will be accepted to university or not. And our predicted grades were given to us in accordance to our attendance and how like active we are during the lessons. So the first term was pretty fine, like there were a lot of people during the class, we were chatting, like giving different opinions. But during the second and third term, in my classes, it was just like silence. I think many people realize that now they don't need to attend all the classes, they don't need to answer the questions and like discuss anything. So for example, on my ACT classes, I was almost the only person who was answering like questions, who had a discussion with the teacher. There were like a few other people, but the majority of class was just like silent. And you know this like awkward thing when a teacher put you in a breakout room to discuss something, to do any kind of tasks, and your partner just doesn't reply to you. And yeah, this happened a lot to me. Science and society was pretty fine with this because we had a pretty active group. but during the last few weeks, many people just didn't attend these classes. Biology was fine with it, but just our tutor gave us different questions in the beginning of our lesson, and then he divided us to breakout rooms to discuss these questions for literally an hour, and we discussed pretty much everything during the first 5 minutes, and the rest 55 minutes we were doing just nothing. However, chemistry was even more fun because I had several classes. One, I was literally the only person who was talking to the teacher. I had individual classes when other people were joining the class in teams, but turned off everything, so they didn't even tell him hello and goodbye. But that's the thing about online seminars. And a little bit about timetable. During the first half of the first term, we had only ACT and Science and Society classes, so 3 hours of Science and Society and 3 hours of ACT. Then during the second half of the first term, we had 2 hours of ACT, 2 hours of Science and Society, and 1 hour of Chemistry and 1 hour of Biology. During the term 2, we had only 1 hour of ACT and Science and Society, and 2 hours of biology and chemistry. Then in the third term we had 3 hours of chemistry and 3 hours of biology. Your final grade depends on several assessments during the year, and each of these assessments has some percentage. For example, on ACT we had, I suppose, 2 essays which were 30% and 1 presentation which was 40%. So for example, you got 70 for the first essay, 75 for the second essay, and 79 for the presentation. Then you multiply these numbers to their weight, percent, and then you sum them up, so you get your final grade. We had different types of assessment. On Science and Society and ACT we had just regular essays where they gave us a topic and we had to write something about it. On Chemistry and Biology we had lab reports. On Biology they were more in written format, so we had to write it from the scratch. However, on Chemistry, 4 out of 5 lab reports had a template which we had to fill. We also had presentations. They were individual on Science and Society and ACT, but we had group presentations on Chemistry and Biology. Group tasks were also really difficult because they just put you in random groups and you don't know what kind of people you will get in this group. I had perfect group mates during my biology presentation, but I wasn't really lucky with group mates on chemistry presentation. We all were in a different time zones and they just didn't do their part. We didn't have ACT or Science and Society exams. However, we had 2 chemistry and biology exams. There were midterm exams in the middle of second term, I believe, and there were final exams. Final exams were 50% of the final grade, and midterm exams were about 10% of final grade. All exams were fully in line, and for example, chemistry exams were even open book. Extracurricular activities. King's has a lot of different activities. They have a lot of societies which you can join even if you're studying on foundation course. There is a language center, so you can study different languages. There are different sport societies. There are gyms across the campus. This year they also had different online programs. I don't know if they have them all the time, but this year all students had free access to Move Your Body program, which is different online activities, sports. I think they had meditation sessions and so on. I didn't join anything, but I plan to join different societies and do many things during the next year. Online education at King's. First of all, King's has their own platform, Kids, where they upload all the materials, all readings. You can access the timetable there, etc. But all other things like calls, messages, communication, and so on were held through Teams. At first, I really hated Teams. I found it so difficult to use, so difficult to understand. But at the end, I've realized that it's actually a really good platform for online education. Because, for example, if you want to get to any person, you can just type their name in the search and you will probably find this person. It was extremely helpful during, for example, group tasks. And it's also really easy to communicate for teams because you don't need to go to another app. You can just like make a call inside of this app. You can send different files to each other, you can text to each other in this app. So I think Teams was a really helpful tool. Accommodation. I lived in one of the King's accommodations until January. I lived at Stamford Street Apartments. I have a room tour, so I will add a card somewhere here or here, so you can watch it if you're interested. I was under 18 when I started the university, so I had to live either in one of the King's accommodations or with my legal guardian. I didn't have legal guardian at UK, so I decided that accommodation is pretty fine. There's also a thing that not all of the accommodations that Kings provide on their website are specifically there. They like own only Stamford Street Apartments, Great Dover Street, and I suppose there is another one, but I'm not really sure. So I just applied and they gave me randomly a room in one of these accommodations. I was lucky to get Stamford Street Apartments because I heard a lot of really bad reviews of Great Dover Street Apartments. I wouldn't say that Stamford Street Apartments are like the best accommodation ever. I think other accommodations like Angel Lane or whatever are much better, at least on the photos. But the best thing about Stamford Street is the location. It's located really across the street from Waterloo campus, and you just need to cross the river to get to Strand campus. All my face-to-face classes this year were on Strand campus, so it was just like 20 minutes walk to get to my classes. I wasn't really lucky with my flatmates. I wouldn't say that they were bad, but we just didn't really get well with each other. We didn't hate each other, we didn't like steal food or use stuff of each other without asking. We just didn't become friends. We talk sometimes when we met in the kitchen, but that's all. Kings guarantee you accommodation during your foundation and first year, but I decided that I don't really want to live there again. So I will be renting a flat, but it's just your personal choice. There are also a lot of private accommodations across London, like Chapter, IQ accommodation, and so on. There are like really a lot of them for different budgets, but I noticed that really a lot of student accommodation costs even more than a flat. If you have a limited budget, I really recommend you to look both on student accommodation and flats, because sometimes you can find flat which will be cheaper than accommodation. So the last question is how I feel about this year. Overall, I am really satisfied with what I got. Of course, it didn't worth this money. However, I can't really say really bad things about this year. Of course, there were some advantages, some things that I hated about it, but overall, it was fine. And by the way, it was really easy for me. Of course, there were some days when I was working hard, but overall, during the year, I was just like chilling and doing nothing, and I still got really well at the end of the year. I don't know, maybe that's just because I worked really hard during my high school. I don't know, all other people I met said it was extremely difficult, they work so hard, and they were like really tired, so I don't know, I think it's just personal thing. For me, it was really easy, but I didn't hear the same opinion from other people. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to tell you. If I didn't answer your question, just leave it in the comments or DM me on Instagram. You can always find the link to my Instagram in the description box. I hope this video was helpful for you. Good luck with your foundation year or any other studies you started this year. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys!